Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carly Stevens. I'm a teacher and author, and this is English Nerd. So as I'm recording this, it is New Year's Eve, and I wanted to share with you some ways that you can read more in the new year if that is your goal. Obviously, the purpose of this channel is to just help and increase the love of English class-related things like literature and tips for essay writing and things like that. But just the act of reading can be such a wonderful step toward that appreciation, whether or not it's classics that you're reading. So first of all, I would say if you want to read more, the first thing you need to do is prioritize it. That doesn't mean that you need to read every single day, but just have it in the forefront of your mind. Make sure that you have a list of books, or you're just thinking about it on a regular basis. And that alone is going to make a big difference. Consider doing something like, if you tend to watch TV in the evenings like I do, choosing one day a week to not watch TV and instead read a book for a couple hours instead. So here are a couple or a few more suggestions about reading more than you did in 2022. Something that really helped me to read more than I was before was switching up the format. So for a long time, all I read was physical books, and I love a physical book, a paperback, a hardcover. But when I started listening to audiobooks, it was a game changer for me. That meant that I could listen on my commute into work. That meant I could listen while I was out for a walk or cooking or cleaning or something like that. I know for a lot of people, a game changer is switching to ebooks, getting a Kindle or something like that. I still have not really gotten into ebooks myself because I'm staring at screens for so many other reasons throughout the day. But just consider switching up the format, and that can unlock the new possibilities for ways to consume books. Another is to add bookish content to your social media feeds. So assuming that you are on things like Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever, start joining groups or following people that review books or follow different authors or things like that. You will get bombarded with so many recommendations, and you'll see all these beautiful covers, and you'll hear people talking about books. And once again, having that information right in front of you on a regular basis is going to add fuel to that fire. I mean, people tend to want what they consume, like they want more of what they are already looking at. And so that can be fun as well, interacting with people in those kinds of bookish communities. And again, this can be classics or not classics. I read all kinds of different genres, not just things like the Iliad or books by Charles Dickens. I mean, sure, I like those things, but I also like kids' books and YA and, a lot of other content as well. Another one is to try a challenge. This can be a Goodreads challenge. Goodreads, if you are not already familiar with it, is a way to add books to your to be read or TBR pile, and will also keep track of the books that you've read, and you can rate them. It'll add up all the pages for you at the end of the year and give you a nice summary of all the reading that you've done. It's a cool way to keep track of the reading for the year. And you can set challenges for yourself. Like, I wanted to read 40 books this year, and I exceeded that goal. Other people want to read 10 or 100, but that is one way that you can set a challenge. I've also seen challenges where it's a list of, say, 20 types of books, like read a book that's set in the Midwest, or read a book that is by this author. Or it can be one of those list of must-read classics. Sometimes people will try to go through those. So you can choose a challenge, and that's one way that you can just tick these things off your list and be more intentional about your reading for next year. Another that has been helpful for me, at least in the past, is to join a class or a book club. Now, I've never really been a book club person. I like to be free with the things that I read, but I know that book clubs have really been helpful. For me, I never would have read so many classics had it not been for all the classes that I needed to take for my English degree and for teaching English to high schoolers as well. So that is one way that you can keep yourself very accountable for reading things that might not have otherwise come on your radar. I don't really read poetry per se by myself, but I've discovered some really amazing works just by being assigned them over the years. So that is yet another option for you. Another is to get a reading journal. I know right now, for example, if you sign up for a Barnes & Noble membership, they'll give you a free reading journal, but there are reading journals all over the place. You can just look on Amazon or wherever, and they have all these different options. And so with those, depending on the one that you get, you can, again, keep track, sort of like a physical Goodreads, of the books that you've read, the books you want to read, what you thought about the ones that you did get through. And so that if you're more of an analog person than a digital person, it can be another way to keep yourself motivated and on track, and you can actually look back and see the progress that you've made in your reading goals throughout the year and remember which books were worth recommending or which authors you just never really want to read again because it wasn't your style. So next, I know I keep looking down here. It's my trusty, always there physical notes because I have a lot of digital presence, but I'm an analog woman at heart. If you're unmotivated and you still think, man, I still want to continue reading, just before I give this next recommendation, though, cut yourself some slack, give yourself some grace. Nobody's holding a gun to your head saying you have to read something, but if you do feel unmotivated and you still want to pursue the goal of reading a lot more than you normally would, more power to you. Just know that this is all kind of self-imposed and you're allowed to give yourself a break every now and then. But that said, switch up the genre of what you're reading. A lot of people just drill down on one genre, and that's wonderful. They only read mysteries, or they only read thrillers or romances or what have you, and that really works for some people. For somebody like me, I tend to switch from dark academia to romance to children's books to classics to, I'm all over the place, to nonfiction. Sometimes that can unlock something as well. So maybe try a genre that you are not used to reading. If you're consuming a lot of classic literature, for example, that can be wonderful, but also really dense at times. So maybe read something lighter, read a rom-com, there's no law against it, and enjoy the heck out of it before moving on to something else. Or if you've always wanted to learn about mechanics or, just whatever it is, switch up the genre and learn or experience something that you wouldn't normally. And maybe you'll find out that there's this whole new world of different books that you hadn't really considered. I know that that's happened to me many times. On a whim, I'll pick up something and then all of a sudden this middle grade ghost hunting series is like I'm just so excited, and that's all I want to read for a while. That's awesome. Or if you've been reading only American literature, maybe pick up some literature from a different place, some British literature, Chinese literature, or something that has a different flavor to it. And then finally, my last recommendation is If your goal is more specifically to read more classic literature this upcoming year, that's awesome. There are lots of benefits to reading some of the acknowledged greats. Not least of which is just that they tend not to follow the same patterns that modern literature does, and so it just gives you a broader perspective of what books can be, I think. So you're welcome to check out English Nerd, my channel, and read along with me. I've made a series of videos about Hamlet, just scene by scene, what happens, what I think, some of the deeper ideas in it. Tale of Two Cities, same thing. Dante's Inferno, I just finished that one up a couple weeks ago. And so you can, if you're intimidated by some of these works, that can be a way to access them. I mean, it's basically just a class on these books. So especially for the sections that are more challenging, because all of these do have challenging sections for one reason or another, you can just take the ride along with me, and I'll have more literature analysis and summary in this upcoming year. I don't want to make any announcements yet, but that is another way that you can stay plugged in to reading more in 2023. So if you have any more suggestions, there are lots of ways that you can start reading more. Please put those in the comments down below. Like this video if you like it. Do not forget to subscribe to English Nerd for more English nerdy goodness. And I will see you next week.